All right, so welcome everybody. We are in for webinar 6, the bonus webinar for Venue 7 here. Today we're going to talk about USB 2-track recording and playback that's included in Venue 7 for S6L now. So, just a couple little housekeeping measures, which we always do. If you have questions during this webinar, use the Q&A button down at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and that will hook you up with one of the product specialists we got in the background. We got Ryan, Rob, Chance, all the guys you know so well in the background. They'll be answering questions. And of course, we'll capture some live questions to ask at the end so that you can put me on the spot and try to stump the panel, so to speak. All right, so let's just jump right into it here. Let's get it going here. Let me get my screen shared up here. All right, so USB playback and record. As you guys might remember, we originally released this with S3L, and we have now got it in on the S6L platform. And as you all know, and I always try to drive this message home every time we have one of these webinars, because it's such an important piece of what we're trying to promote with Avid right now, is this concept of a platform, right? So everything we show you today is going to be applicable to all the surfaces and systems available on the Venue Unified platform, which is one of the great assets of being on a platform, right? Once you add one thing to one system, you actually add it to all of them. So that's going to happen here today as well. So let's talk about USB playback. We'll jump right into it here. I don't think we're going to take a lot of time today. We're going to get through this pretty quick. So let's talk about some of the playback highlights here. So first off, you can play files of any sample rate off the USB key. I'm going to be playing files today of varied sample rates throughout the thing, so you'll be able to see that in play. You can initiate a playback by nearly any function on the console using events. You can have a snapshot recall initiate a playback. You can do it obviously with the pointing device or your touch screen on the external screen. But there are tons of ways to initiate a playback. So you can make it a really integrated workflow into your console movements, right? Especially important for theaters and all kinds of things where you might want to associate one specific playback with one specific fader move, things like that. So really powerful and to have all of this at your disposal. So we'll start today I'm just going to take you on a little tour around these screens. And again, if you've been on S3L before, this is going to look very familiar to you. But for those of you that haven't, I'll just take you around the bend here, so to speak. So if you'll notice, USB playback and record has been added to the control window, right? That's where we are going to house all this now, and you'll actually see that there's actually a reason behind that, which is really good. So you notice there are two more tabs underneath control now, playback and recording. We're looking at the playback tab right now. And within this, you'll see a lot of stuff, right? So up at the top left, you'll see the drive that you have inserted into the console that you're using as your playback drive. You'll also see a bunch of folders. You can generate and create these folders on the console. You could also create and generate these folders outside the console on another computer if you wanted to do it. For instance, I put these files together on Mac and brought them right in on the USB key to be able to use today. You also have the ability to choose where this USB playback is going to take place on your console. You're going to be able to patch it into any channel that you want. It's also worth noting you can take the USB playback and assign it directly to a matrix, meaning really bypassing everything on the console and just have it directly to a matrix, which is a really cool feature to have at your disposal. We're going to do a kind of an augmented version of that today in the demonstration. But you would just click on these numbers down here. It would take you to the patch bay, and you would patch your USB playback output into whatever processing channels you want. You also have, and this is particular to S6L, you have the ability to choose your preview bus or your solo bus. You're going to have the ability to preview these files without playing them out into your console, be able to just listen to them in the solo bus. So, of course, on S6L, we have two solo buses. You can choose either monitor A, monitor B, or monitor A plus B for the playback. And I will also note, I'll kind of give away the show here a little bit, you can have a different solo bus for the playback versus the recording that you're listening to. So, okay, so you'll have the choice there. All right, let's see what we got next here. So if I just double click on one of those folders, this is my sound effects folder that I've kind of put together. You can see the files there. And that's from that My Sound Effects folder that is on the USB drive. And then from there, you can see that we get some information about each file. If we target the file, it's going to give us some information about it. I've got 4 different sample rates for 4 different files going on here, but you get that information right in the bottom left of that window. If we select all of those files and then click the Add button, that's going to bring them into a playlist. All right, so we're going to create a playlist on the right-hand side, and we can obviously rearrange that order, do all kinds of stuff there. This is where we kind of build the integration to the console, etc. Okay, so once we have that done, you'll actually see a total playlist time down in the lower right-hand side, where it just aggregates all those times and gives you a total time if it were to play head to toe. And then, of course, you have the ability to preview, right? And that's indicated by the little speaker icon on the left side of the file, whether it's in the folder or actually in the playlist window. And it's just simply a matter of just clicking on it, making that speaker turn green, and then you will only hear it out the solo bus. I'm going to give you a demonstration of that today during the actual run through here. Just kind of want to set the table for it here. Okay. Let's see, where do we go from here? Right, so let's look at some of the transport controls here. Down in the transport control, you can see that we have a play 1, and that is going to play a single file once and once only. So if we highlight the file and initiate play there, it's only going to play once and then stop. If we have the looper on, then it's going to play that one file continuously until we engage a stop. All right, so that's a single file infinite repeat. And then, of course, we can repeat the entire playlist if we want to do that as well. It will stop and, or it will not stop once we start play until we initiate a stop, all right? But it'll play the entire list on the right, head to toe, and then repeat it. Okay? Let's see where we go from here. Right, this is where it starts to get fun. All right, so in the upper right-hand corner there, you're going to see 2 icons kind of grayed out. One is kind of a green folder, and the other is just a kind of a symbol to indicate events. But you have the ability to add this playback track to a snapshot, meaning as soon as I do it from here, it will add it to a snapshot, and when we call that snapshot, it will play this file. We also have the ability to create a new snapshot that will play back this file as well from here. Right from this window. So you can do it all from this window if you want to do it. In terms of event, same kind of thing where you can add a playback to a new or an existing event just with the right click here or the click on this here and make your choice, right? And remember, with events, we can take any fader move, any switch move, really just about anything on the console can initiate the playback or the record, which leaves you open to all kinds of really cool programming possibilities. And again, I'm going to try to give you that today. I'm going to show you a little bit of that today in the run through. Okay. All right, so let's jump into USB record now. Let's just kind of review that window and see what it looks like. So now we're on the record tab of those windows that are in control, in the control master tab there. All right, so you can see the window looks a little bit different here, but it's a similar kind of process. Here, up in the left-hand corner, this is the source of our recording, right? This is going to be where can we patch from to get our recording. And I'll just, give the show away early. You can patch any outputs to the USB recorder, right? So any possible output that shows up in the patch bay can be directed to the USB recorder. So that gives you the ability to do all kinds of really interesting stuff. I mean, of course, you could just record your show as you wanted to do it, but you could easily record your solo bus. If you were working in rehearsals or working and you thought, oh, I just want to set that up as some kind of quick capture to be able to anything I solo, I want to be able to go back and review it later. I mean, you could easily do that here as well. So again, you have a solo bus choice here, and just to drive it home, it can be a different choice than your playback choice if for some reason you would want it to be or need it to be. And here, over here, is the inserted drive for recording. Now, today, I've actually set up two USB keys. I've set up one for playback and one for record, right? Now, I'll state it here. I'm sure it's going to get asked again anyway, but I'll state it here. You cannot playback and record at the same time. You can do one or the other, but they don't have to be from the same key, right? So I've set it up here. The workflow I'm going to show you today is kind of an archiving workflow where we might want to record a show, be playing back, and then remove that USB key and go get it in the remove the record USB key and go get it started into the archive, all right, while the other one is still playing back. All right, so that's a way to do that. So that's the drive you would see there. We get a little different bit of information in the record. Obviously, the capacity of the drive is important to us there. So as you can see here down in the lower right-hand corner, that is giving us all the particular specs for the USB key that we're going to direct recordings to. It tells us how much space, how much time is available for us, etc. Okay. We also have the ability to title a recording. If we're just going to make a single recording, we can title it right here. There are also other ways to title the snapshot or title the recordings as well, which I'm going to show you here, which are kind of integrated to snapshot recalls, where we can recall a snapshot and have that title be the USB recording title. Okay, so this is how we direct events toward controls. So I've just kind of done a screen grab of the events drop down here, and you can see that all the transport controls show up now in the events list. So we can direct commands, etc., toward that. And one of the things I do on S6L now, for sure, if I can do it, if I feel like I can sacrifice them, is I give away function keys 1 through 5, which are on the surface, right? Remember, those show up in that middle control panel on the surface, and I dedicate those to USB record and playback, right? So I just mimic that transport into the USB playback and record. That way, if I press the transport button, that transport is now controlling Pro Tools. If I darken the transport button, that transport is now controlling my USB playback and record. So it's just very handy. It kind of keeps everything pretty seamless, where you're punching the same buttons for the same meaning all the time. And again, you'll see that in the run through today. I'll show you that as part of the run through. All right, so here we have stop, play track, or play the queued track. You have two different choices there in terms of what you want to do the play button. And remember, it doesn't, in terms of the event, we don't have to necessarily assign these two things to the transport. They can be assigned to any switch or fader move. You have the record button, and then of course record divide. Record divide is a really cool switch because even if you're doing a single long recording, you can actually break it up manually if you want to do it. So if I just put the USB recorder in play, or in record, I should say, and then I go tap this button, this divide button, it will start a new USB file every time I do it. So it'll automatically segment it whenever you want to segment it. So also a very handy feature, and I put that up on the console as well, so I have it at my disposal if I want it. Okay. All right, so let's take a look now at the some triggering of these events of playback and record, and how to actually go about doing that, right? So I have a set of songs that I've built into a set list here. Obviously, it's arbitrary. It's because I don't really have an artist here that I'm working with. I've just kind of simulated it here. So where it says my artist song 1, that's the first song of the night, second song of the night, third song of the night, right on down the line. There's also snapshots down there that you see for play walk-in music, play walk-out music, which might be different than your walk-in music. And of course, those are momentary snapshots. We don't necessarily want those to impede or inject into our normal snapshot list, okay? So let's take a look here at what we have added now as a function of USB record and playback. Of course, you're going to have a media scope button now. So it's going to just basically alert the snapshots that you're going to have some media work to do when you're recalled upon doing so. Okay, so media has to do with either playback or record. We need to have that scope engaged if the snapshot is going to initiate either of those things. You'll also see that we have an additional media tab now in that upper right area where we can expand that area and look at what we're going to do, which I'm going to do here. So if we click on the expander, it opens up this window, and you can see that we have a couple of choices here. We can either have the snapshot initiate a play or initiate a record, Okay. If we initiate a play, we're just going to choose the file that we want that record to play, or that snapshot recall to play, right? So we have other choices there where we can say play only this track, or we can repeat the track, etc. If we just do it this way, it's just going to recall it and then start playing the list, right? So you have to decide there whether you want it to only play the track or you want it to play the list. In this situation, with it being walk-in music, I actually want it to play the list, right? It's going to play more than one song as we go on. So for, oops, sorry about that. So for the record portion, here's where we have the choice of actually having the USB file follow the name of the snapshot, right? And this is a really cool, really important workflow for recording shows, archiving, all kinds of things like that. You know, where you're gonna keep what you are recording night to night, maybe over a long period of time. So this gives you the ability to follow the name, or you can put in your own name right here that will be associated with the WAV file once it's recorded. Okay, you can also have a snapshot that stops the recording, etc. You just build it in as you need it. All right, but that's how we integrate snapshots into that. And if you think about how snapshots are integrated to events, it becomes this really kind of nice two-step thing, which I'm going to demonstrate for you here in the example. Okay, so let's just talk about some recording highlights here. As I mentioned, the USB recorder can source audio from any output in the patch bay. WAV file recordings can be targeted to user-defined folders, right? So you can create folders. As you're going to see here for the concert recording archive thing, I create folders that have a date, the city, etc. in it. And that way, you know, all of those takes are going to be associated with a specific folder. So you can do that on the USB key and have that ready to go. It's an important piece of the workflow, actually. And then, of course, WAV recordings can be automatically segmented, meaning every time I recall a new snapshot, it's creating a new recording. So all of those recordings exist in that folder under those names. And then where it gets kind of cool is when you do things in post. And again, I'm going to try to demonstrate this today, where you have all of those files that you've recorded into that folder. Well, if we need to, we could drag those directly. We just drop them directly into Pro Tools and do head and tail edits on them if we want to, do any kind of gain adjustments, whatever we might need to do to those files. And then once we're done there, we can take them over and drop them directly, again, drop that folder directly into iTunes or Windows Media Player. And we can do some bulk editing of metadata there to really help us out with our archive. We can do things like, you know, create album titles. We can create ranking for not only the show, but for the songs, etc., that we want to do in there. And that becomes really, really handy if you're keeping stuff over a long period of time, where you have these playlists that can be maybe of an entire tour, where you can sort by city, you could sort by track name, you could sort by a date, have all these kind of sorting. You can sort by ranking at that point, all kinds of cool stuff that you can do there. And then on top of it, network that with all the people in your organization, and they can go review it as needed as well, band members, whatever, okay? So it works out really, really good. All right, so let's talk about this workflow demonstration today. Let me get my camera on here, and I'll try to outline what is going to happen here. Oops. Oh yeah, I've got this here. So what we're going to show you today is kind of, the first thing is kind of corporate broadcast / drama. This is an effects playback that we can do right from the console, right from the USB key. We can also use function keys that have been mimicked on the iPad, etc. iPad's a really, really great thing to use in conjunction with this workflow. And then we're going to talk about a concert 2-track recording workflow, right? So we're going to initiate some walk-in music with an event plus a snapshot. And then we're going to initiate some song recordings. And again, we're going to do that with an event plus a snapshot. We're going to initiate walkout music, which is going to be actually different from our walk-in music, with an event plus a snapshot. And then we're going to go ahead and transfer the recordings over to a music app, like I'm going to use iTunes, or Music as it's called today. And then we're going to bulk edit the metadata on it. So that should take us through the rest of this little bit of time here. Okay, so let me kind of get things ready to go here. Let's go here. Beautiful. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously this corporate slash drama kind of thing, right? So I'm going to kind of highlight what I've got set up fader wise on the console here. All right. So this section over here is representing kind of my band. All right. This is my band that's going to play back. And I don't really have music going into the console today because I don't want to confuse the two playbacks. So the band is going to get represented by pink noise today. So it would sound like this. You'll hear this coming in, right? This fader here is my actual USB playback, right? That is the USB audio is coming into that fader, and I'm going to use that as my playback, but it's also going to be used to initiate some other actions. I'm going to use combinations of this fader and the XY switches to initiate specific actions that I want to do. This is my main left-right bus, all right? And you'll see it's going to be integrated to this fader here. This is our PA system drive. So obviously, if I do that, you can see that main left-right bus is going out the PA drive. But you're also going to see that the USB key is also going directly to the this channel is going directly to the PA matrix and bypassing the left-right. And you might ask, well, why would you do that? Why would you bypass it to the left-right? Well, a lot of times we have a lot of processing on the left-right bus. We might have some mastering plugins, we might have some equalization, all kinds of things, and you don't necessarily want that to be for your walk-in music as well. Especially so if you have audio on this, maybe high-resolution WAV file on your USB key playback that you're going to use for system tuning. Well, that would really want to go directly to the matrices, right? You wouldn't want to run that through your bus processing that you're going to use for all your live microphones, etc. Okay, so that's kind of the reason behind doing that. And then over here, I have put up fader representations of both monitor A and monitor B, so I can show you how the solos, or the previews is really what I should call it here, work in this situation, okay? So that's kind of the routine here. So I'm going to, like I said, we're going to play back some of these effects files first. So let me push up my USB playback. Now, I've got these built into function keys right now. So as you guys all know, we have 48 function keys available to you on SXL, and each one of those could be used to play back a specific sound. The labels for the sound come up here. We do this in the events window, right? Maybe I'll take you there just to show you that. Here. So notice that I have the names here, right? We're going to hear some Gary Glitter, a woman screaming, huge crowd applause, phone rings, etc. Well, those labels show up in the function keys, right? So you would see those here on these labels. Those labels also show up on the function pad, right? So let me pull that down so you can see it. Maybe I'll put it like right here, somewhere around here. That's pretty good. So all of those show up on the function pad as well. So we can just pick and choose which place we want to see it. So I'm going to go through and play some of these files here. So here's the Gary Glitter. So just push the button and the music starts, right? Now, like I said, I've built control into the transport here, and you can see that what is highlighted is the stop button. That's active now if I want to stop it, right? So I just press stop, light goes out. Let's go to another one. Maybe I'll go to Woman Screams here, and I'll do it on the iPad. Right? So same sort of thing. Huge crowd applause. Oops. One more time. Get back to my window here. And finally, the last one is the phone ring, right? So now, I don't necessarily have that built into the flash into my stop. I really have that set more for other files. But you can do that as you want. Remember, the ability to highlight the LED or flash the LED is part of your events if you want to program that in. Okay, so that's kind of the playback. If you want to take a look at or listen to, I'm going to have to, I'll do it here. Move my cursor over so I can do this. If you want to highlight these, it's just a matter of pressing that green button. Now, if you notice down here, that's only coming out the solo bus. Now, I've made it where you can hear all of these buses in the stream. But if I want to just preview any of those, I just make the little icon green, and now I'm previewing it through the selected solo bus, right? Same thing goes at the playback side of it. Here, we can do the same thing here. Right, we can do it whether it's in the playlist or not. So you can get those things ready. Maybe you get something ready and then drag it into the playlist. Okay. All right, I hope that's making sense to everybody. Very handy for sporting events, anything you wanted to do there. You can build all kinds of stuff. All right, so let's take a look at something that's a little more integrated here. So let me back up one little bit here. Right, so I think this will work. So where you kind of want to be watching here is I'm going to kind of describe what I'm doing on the console so that you get a sense of it, but also be watching the list for what's playing. And also down here, this will tell you what file is playing at any given time. You can watch here for the record aspects of it, because we're going to go directly from a playback into a record, and I'll try to manage the windows so you can see what's going on here. All right. So let's take like a concert sound workflow here. Okay. So I'm going to start with my main left-right fader down, right? As if I was getting ready for the show. Maybe I'm going to do line check, whatever I'm going to do. I can do all of that. But I'm going to have some playback music started, right? So if we go to my playlist that I've chosen here, you'll see, oops, sorry. Let me get back here. You'll see that even though I've got all of these files in here, really, I probably would not have the sound effect playbacks in here for a concert, obviously, unless I'm doing it for some part of the show. But I've got other files in here that are just music. And I have actually selected parts of it for walk-in music and parts of it for walk-out music. So the first song of the walk-in is the Bo Diddley tune. And then the first song of the walk-out, I think, is down here. It's Evening Train. So those are two different moves on the console to generate that. All right. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to push up my playback fader. And when it gets past a certain level, it's going to start the playback, right? All right, so I did nothing other than just move the fader up to get the music to start, right? And the cool thing about like we did, this was really fun to do in concert sound. You could actually set that up to be time of day too, right? So at 6:30 p.m., that fader goes up and turns the walk-in music on. You wouldn't even need to be there to do it, right? If you wanted to do it. All right, so from here, house lights are out, or we're coming up on house lights out. I'm going to want to start my 2-track recording, right? Well, I have the ability to, mechanically do it. I can just turn this down. I could turn up my master fader and go hit the record button and do it. But, we have the ability to integrate all of those moves here, right? So I'm going to start this again. And I've designed some events that have modifier keys in them, right? So I've got a modifier key in the XY now. So if I press the X button, and I'm going to change windows here so that you might see this. All right, so as I modify and pull down the fader, it's going to start the recording and push up my master fader, right? So here we go. Okay, so the first song is now recording, right? We're mixing the first song, etc. The USB playback has stopped. And from here, I'm just going to hit next for my snapshots to engage the rest of the recordings, right? So here we go, next song. We go next. And now we've segmented and we're recording the next song. Segmented and recorded the next song. I'm going to make these short so it's easier to drag them into Pro Tools or into iTunes. I think I've got 6 ready to go. All right, so, and remember, these titles are following the snapshot name, right? Maybe, yeah. Okay, so song 6 was the last one of our show. How do we get back now, right? So Maybe we want to have some walk out music that is going to play, but we also want to obviously stop the recording. We want to, if not mute all the inputs, at least pull the master fader down, right? So it's almost the reverse of what we did to start the show. So here, if I don't hold down the Y, it's just going to start my walk-in music again, right? But if I hold down the Y here, the modifier key, and I push this up, turns down the master fader, our music is done. No noise will be coming out of the PA from people unplugging, etc. And we're playing walkout music now, and this will play all the way through to the end of the list. Right? So while this is going on, we can actually pull out the record USB and move it over to iTunes, right? So I'm going to do that. I might have to step off camera here for a second to do it. You can see I've pulled out the USB key now. Don't cry, don't sigh. When you hear that evening train go by. All right. Love to hear that evening train on time. Love to hear that evening train on time. Especially when those worries on my mind. My mind, don't cry. Why, don't sigh. When you hear that evening train go by. All right. Love to see those fields I used to roam. Love to see those fields I used to roam. Then I know I'm on my way back home. Bye, goodbye. Don't cry. Okay. Sorry that took so long. I was having trouble getting my Mac to recognize the drive. All right, so we need to get this guy up now. I'm coming, I promise. I just got a permissions issue here. 1 second. See if it's going to do it. All right. I think we're there finally. Okay, so you see an empty music folder here, or a music app here. So this is my USB key that you can see on the right hand side here. I'm going to open that up, and notice that is my show folder, right? That's what we just recorded to in the USB land. So first thing I'm going to do is actually copy and this name, right, which is my date and my show. And you can make this as detailed as you want to make it for your archive. You know, for my situation, or the situations I've worked in, I almost always suggest people use the date first and do it as year, day, month. That seems to be the easiest to catalog and use. So that's what we're going to do there. All right, so now I'm just going to open up that folder, and I'm going to grab all of these, folder or files and just drag them into the window. All right, here they come. All right, so once they're there, obviously you can see the metadata is kind of lacking, right? We don't have a lot of information about it other than the song titles. So the way to go about doing this is actually pretty easy. They make it pretty easy for you to do this. So you just select all of the files, right? And then right click on it and go get info. And from here, we can start filling in all the data. Now, artist is obviously me today. But when it gets to album, that's where you want to paste this thing that this info you just took from your folder, right? So I'm going to paste that in there. That's going to be my album title, which is tonight's show. Then you can continue to fill in from there as needed. You can put some grouping information in there. Maybe it's a leg of a tour, whatever. You could add genre if you want to add it. Year 20. We could actually rank all of these if we want to do it here. Maybe you use that as a show rank, but you could also go in individually when you're listening back to them and rank each one of these songs individually as well. You could have comments down here. Maybe do something like that. And then if we hit OK, notice all that metadata shows up there, and we have it sortable now. So we have the comments. Here's our ranking where we can go rank each one of those songs, album title, artist, etc. songs. So once you get a number of shows in there, obviously at that point you can start doing some sorting, and maybe you want all the takes of one particular song and listen to them back to back and review. You can do that really easily this way. Build your own playlist, whatever you need to do, really. It's really a very cool, easy way to do it. All right. Okay, well, let me get back to our normal worlds here. I think that is about it. So it's a pretty cool little workflow. It is really, really handy to have this on your console for any number of reasons. I remember as soon as we got it on S3L, I was really clamoring to have this in a console again, especially on S6L, because we can do so many cool things with how we operate it. So that is going to just about do it for today. Let's make sure I don't have any sneaky snapshots in here or anything like that. Yeah, we're to the Q&A now. So I hope that made sense to everybody. It's a really cool little workflow. Chant, how's the Q&A been going? We got any Q&As?
Yeah, good, man. There's a few questions here. So we'll start off with, what version of software is needed for the USB playback and record, and when will it be available?
I can give you half of that answer. I can say unequivocally it is Venue 7. That is part of this big Venue 7 release. As if the release wasn't big enough already, we decided at the last minute, well, let's put USB playback and record in there. So yeah, that's going to be part of Venue 7. As for the release, I'll just say it will be sometime this month. I don't know the exact date at this point, but soon, very, very soon, within days is my prediction. So,
cool. Do you have to tell the system which USB you want to use for record or playback?
You do, and maybe I should just get you back to that window for a second. Stand by. That would be this. You do that. Playback here. You do that here. Can you see I'm guessing you can see my cursor there.
Yeah,
you do this here because you can navigate and then choose drives for playback or record there, right?
Cool. What file formats and bit depths are supported by the recorder and the player?
I might need Ryan to jump in on this one. I believe the recorder records at, is it 44.1 24-bit or 48K 28-bit? Or actually, it's 96K.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, sorry.
24-bit. And for playback, it's any mono or stereo wave file from 8-bit to 32-bit, 12 kilohertz to 192. So pretty much anything that's really available. It can also do any mono or stereo MP3 file with pretty much any format setting. Yep. And when it's playing a different sample rate than 96, because obviously the system's running at 96, it has built-in SRC that is identical to the best quality setting that is in Pro Tools.
Fantastic. Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed it, but even today, I think I made mention of it. I played back 4 different files at 4 different sample rates today. So you get a sense of it there.
Yeah, that's cool. Another one just popped up here. Let me read that. Is the playlist stored on the USB or is it part of the session file?
It is, I'm going to say it's essentially part of the session file, but it is only one playlist, right? So You at this point you can't build multiple playlists and have them kind of sitting and waiting to go. You know, you're going to build it and use it is essentially the idea here. So hopefully,
Correct. Yeah, so that is saved in the show file, and
yeah,
obviously all the events and stuff are saved in the show file. If you for some reason didn't have that USB key plugged in, like actually right now, you could pull that USB key right now, Robert, and you'll see it. It'll show you that the files are missing. See how they go italic? That's
yep.
telling you that it can't find them.
Yeah, and if you tried to initiate a play right now, you would get a prompt saying it can't find the file.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the playlist is really just a pointer for the files that are on the USB drives.
Correct.
Cool. Is it best to use a USB drive for record and a separate drive for playback?
It's certainly not mandatory by any stretch of the imagination. I just gave you an example of why you might want to do it here. And I mean, I've always done it in the past that way, just to be able to keep my playback and my recording separate. You know, that way I can walk away with that recorded USB key and go do whatever I want to it and leave the playback with the system, etc. You know, so I never have italics.
Yeah, the other thing we should probably point out, I don't know if you mentioned this, like the USB drive with your songs on it, you can also store all of your venue show files. So that just stays on the one drive and then
Great
travels
point.
with you.
Yeah, you certainly could do that.
Let's see, what else we got? What type of format must the USB key be? NTSF, exFAT, FAT32, etc.
It's going to be a Windows format. I believe it's Ryan. I'll just let you take it. You're going to have the definitive answer there.
Yeah, the answer for that is FAT or NTFS format. Either of
Right.
them work. So
Cool. Yeah, pretty much any off-the-shelf USB key you can find, right? It will. It also supports larger USB drives that require power. Is that not true, Ryan? Where you can plug it into the wall for power, and it will work?
I believe you can do that. Yeah, I haven't actually tried that. In theory, it should be fine.
Yeah, I think we used to be able to do that with SRL, so I just kind of assumed that, but maybe we should test that before we say that for sure.
Sure.
Another question here is, can you split or divide the tracks after the recording has been done?
Not on S6L, but you could certainly do that in a DAW, right? You could easily do that in Pro Tools. So.
Cool. Another one popped up. Can I record in another format other than WAV?
No, it
No,
records straight to WAV. Yeah.
no, it's straight to WAV file. Yep.
Cool. Can you use a computer instead of a USB key this way? Meaning record straight into a computer, I guess.
I'm going to say no unless Ryan's going to shake his head yes.
Well, you can't plug a computer in via USB, but you can plug a computer in via Ethernet and record 128 channels instead. Not significantly more complicated, honestly, to do that.
Yeah,
So-
it's amazingly, you're absolutely right there. It's maybe even less complicated to some degree.
Yeah,
Sure.
potentially. Yeah.
And since we're talking about Pro Tools, just to kind of clear this up a little bit, someone was asking, when you're recording to Pro Tools and using Venue Link, will the media playback be auto assigned in Pro Tools? So if you just want to clear up that kind of basically asking if that is automatically going to be printed to the Pro Tools tracks as well. Does it auto assign? And just kind of clear that up if you would.
Yeah, no, it would not automatically direct it to Pro Tools because you're going to, if you want to do that, you can, but honestly, you're no better off than just directing whatever you want to record directly to Pro Tools. It's essentially the same thing. But in the patch bay, you could set it up where maybe my mix left right goes to Pro Tools so I can record the mix, and that same mix left right goes to the USB key. Nothing that says you can't do that.
Yeah, and if you were using the USB key, let's say for sound effects during a performance or something like that, and you wanted to make sure it also got captured into your virtual sound check, you can always use the direct out from that channel and route it straight into Pro Tools as well.
Correct.
Cool, and that's all that we have for today.
Good one. Good one. Good chunk of questions there. I was hoping that was going to initiate some questions. All right. Well, people, this was the last of our Venue 7 webinars. Now, that certainly does not mean that's the last of our webinars. We're going to continue on with a lot of these going forward for all kinds of topics. But I would encourage you, if you want to review this, we're going to have the entire series of Venue 7 webinars up on the YouTube site as a playlist. So watch for links on that. Couple this up with some of the previous venue webinars we've done, and man, you're going to see that we have done a lot of work on S6L over this time during the pandemic. It's going to be just an amazing release here. So be sure and check it out. Be sure and stay in touch with us, and we'll keep you posted on what's coming in the future. So enjoy it. I hope you guys get some use out of all of this. I hope we all get back to work sooner than later, and we can get out and start using some of these cool tools that we have at our disposal now. All right. So guys, I'm going to pull the ripcord. We will see you next time for the next venue webinar. Take it easy out there. Be safe. Test negative. Stay positive. See you later. Bye-bye.